The Delhi Sultanate. The political formation known as Delhi Sultanate started from 1206 CE and lasted till 1526 CE. The period saw the rise and fall of 5 dynasties in India: the Slave, the Khalji, the Tughlaq, the Sayyid, and the Lodi dynasty. We do not find any mention of Delhi as the capital of any kingdom. This was because Delhi became an important city only in the 12th century. It was under Tomars and Chauhans of Ajmer that Delhi became an important commercial center. The transformation of Delhi into a capital that controlled vast areas of the subcontinent started with the foundation of the Delhi Sultanate in the beginning of the 13th century. The Slave Dynasty. The kingdom established in 1206 CE by Qutbuddin Aibak came to be called Delhi Sultanate. He was one of the generals of Muhammad Ghori. From being a slave, Qutbuddin Aibak became the founder of an empire in India. It was called the Mamluk or Slave Dynasty because the early sultans, called Mamluks, had been slaves who had risen to positions of power because of their intelligence and hard work. After the death of Muhammad Ghori, Qutbuddin Aibak became the first independent Muslim ruler in India, as he was not controlled by the rulers of Ghazni. The Turkish sultans faced many difficulties in India. There were repeated Mongol invasions from northwest. The Rajputs and others tried to regain their independence, and there were many conflicts among the Turks themselves. It took the successive sultans almost 100 years to secure their position in northern India before they tried to extend their rule over Deccan. Iltutmish. Iltutmish was the son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak, who came to throne in 1211 CE after defeating Aibak's son. In the north, he had to fight against the Turkish nobles and the Rajput rulers. He brought Gwalior, Malwa, Ujjain, Bihar, and Bengal under his control. He is said to be the greatest ruler of this dynasty and was able to repulse the Mongol attack on India led by Chengiz Khan. We come to know about Iltutmish and his successors from the books written by Minhaj-us-Siraz, who lived at the court of Delhi. In his book Tabaqat-e-Nasiri, written in Persian, he mentions how Iltutmish was sold in the slave market by his brothers and later bought by Qutbuddin. He completed the Qutub Minar started by Qutbuddin Aibak. He was succeeded by his daughter Razia Sultana. Razia Sultana. After Iltutmish's death, his able daughter Razia Sultana ascended the throne in 1236 CE. The scholar Minhaj-us-Siraj acknowledged Razia's ability as a ruler, but he also wrote that her abilities were useless, as raising a woman to the throne was against the custom. Razia threw off her female attire and the veil and led the army in war. She successfully established law and order in her kingdom. The Chehalgani nobles conspired against her as they wanted power in their hands. They killed her in a battle near Delhi in 1240 CE. Her brother Nasiruddin succeeded her. He was a weak ruler who ruled on the advice of Balban. Balban, the chief advisor, became sultan after the death of his master. Balban. After several weak rulers, Ghiyasuddin Balban, a powerful noble, became sultan in 1266 CE. He continued Iltutmish's policy of suppressing revolts and strengthening the sultanate's hold over its territories. After becoming the sultan, Balban faced many problems. He had to defend his empire from foreign invasions of the Mongols and also had to deal with Hindu Rajput rulers and Jats who rebelled against him. Some of the nobles became very powerful and were threatening the position of sultan. To consolidate his position, Balban adopted these measures. A. He centralized the administration and reorganized his army. B. He started the practice of sajda, where the nobles had to kneel and touch the ground with their forehead and salute the sultan. C. The nobles were not allowed to drink nor to attend parties. D. No one was supposed to laugh or smile while at the court. These measures instilled a sense of fear in the nobles, and Balban was able to curtail the powers of nobles. When he died, the Turkish rule had been firmly established in Delhi, the Ganga Doab, and eastern Rajasthan. His successors were weak and incompetent, and by 1290 CE, the Slave Dynasty came to an end. The Khaljis, a new dynasty, came to power after Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji was the first Turkish Sultan to build an empire in India. During his reign, the boundaries of Delhi Sultanate extended beyond the Vindhyas up to the Deccan. Being a shrewd administrator and a brilliant military general, he conquered territories in quick succession. He conquered Gujarat and Malwa in the west, and Chittor and Jalore in Rajasthan. He then launched his famous campaigns into the Deccan. He was the first Delhi Sultan to cross the Vindhya mountains. These campaigns were led by Malik Kafur, a slave captured in Gujarat. The kingdoms of south, like those of the Yadavas, Kakatiyas, Hoyslas, etc., were defeated and plundered. However, these kingdoms were ruled indirectly, as the rulers of these kingdoms were allowed to remain kings, but they had to pay tribute to Alauddin and accept his supremacy. Thus, Alauddin did not have to bother about the administration in these areas, but at the same time got regular tribute from these kingdoms, which made him rich. Alauddin's administration. To maintain his long-standing army, Alauddin needed large revenues. So, he adopted a bold market policy and controlled the prices of all commodities. Ziauddin Barani writes in Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi that Alauddin Khalji set up 3 markets at Delhi, one for food grains, one for horses, slaves and cattle, and the third for costly articles such as imported cloth. The prices were fixed and quite low. The Sultan made arrangement for the government to buy all excess non-perishable commodities which were stored in huge granaries. A strict watch was kept over buying and selling, and anyone cheating on price or weight was severely punished. Hoarding was prohibited. An officer called Saharai Mandi was in charge of each market. Land was the most important source of revenue. Kharaj, land revenue, was collected as a share of the agricultural produce. Alauddin Khalji had land reassessed. He fixed the rate of revenue at half of the peasants' produce. The revenue was collected directly by the state through special officers called amils appointed by the Sultan. Alauddin paid his soldiers fixed salaries in cash, and the peasants had to sell their produce to be able to pay the revenue. To improve the efficiency of the army, the prices of horses were controlled. Horses were branded with a particular method, dag, so that they could not be changed. Also, a descriptive roll, hulia, of each soldier was kept, so that there was no substitution. He had a very well-organized intelligence system and spies that kept him informed of what was happening in the empire. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Tughlaq dynasty was founded by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, who died in 1325 CE and was succeeded by his son Juna Khan, who took the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It is said that he was a brilliant man with ideas far ahead of his times, but he was not practical, so most of his ideas failed. This made him unpopular among the people who failed to appreciate his vision. Muhammad bin Tughlaq laid stress on merit and raised many people of humble origin to high positions. This offended many of the nobles, and they refused to cooperate with him. His empire covered the Deccan and South states, which Alauddin had not annexed, and also Orissa and Bengal. He administered the Deccan and South directly. During his last years, there were many rebellions. The size of his empire created problems for him. As the Sultan rushed from one place to another to suppress the rebellions, many areas broke away and independent kingdoms were set up in the Deccan and the South, like the Bahmani Kingdom and the Vijayanagar Empire. Shifting the capital. Muhammad bin Tughlaq decided to shift his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad near Aurangabad. He thought it to be the ideal place from where he would be able to control both North and South India. Everyone was asked to move to Daulatabad, 1500 km away from Delhi. Isami, who was also shifted to Daulatabad, gives his account in his book Fateh-ul-Salatin. He wrote that the Sultan ordered people to move to Daulatabad, promising them money and property. He announced that Delhi will be set on fire. Women in parda and Sufi saints were dragged by their hair out of the house. Many children died because they had no milk. Only 1/10 of the people reached Daulatabad. In this way, Sultan destroyed a well-populated city. Later, the Sultan decided to return to Delhi as he could not check Mongol invasions from Daulatabad. Many more people died on the way back. It caused a lot of discontent among the people. Token currency. In an attempt to obtain more revenue, Tughlaq decided to issue token coins in copper and bronze. They had the same value as the gold and silver coins called tanka. So, now people could buy any commodity with a bronze coin as they had done with the silver tanka. Since gold and silver are more valuable as a metal, people hoarded these coins and used only bronze or copper coins for trade. Common people started making counterfeit coins at their home, thus reducing the market value of the copper and brass coins. So, this plan was withdrawn later.